What if I told you that the most powerful man in the world was mocked as a child for his foreign accent, rejected by his classmates, and dismissed by his own country, and that by the time he was 30, that same man had conquered most of Europe? His name was Napoleon Bonaparte. And his story is one of the most extraordinary rides in all of human history. Napoleon was born on August 15, 1769, in Ajaccio, on the island of Corsica, just 1 year after France acquired the island from Genoa. That timing matters. Napoleon was technically French by paperwork, but Corsican by blood, culture, and heart. He grew up speaking Corsican and Italian before he ever learned French, and when he finally did, he spoke it with a thick accent that made his French schoolmates laugh at him. His family, the Bonapartes, were minor Corsican nobility, not wealthy, but with enough status to send young Napoleon to military school in France at age 9. He arrived alone, barely speaking the language, in a country that wasn't quite his. He was small, strange, and foreign. The other boys called him the little foreigner. He responded by becoming the best student in mathematics in the entire school, and by developing a burning, almost volcanic ambition that would never leave him. Napoleon graduated from the École Militaire in Paris in just 1 year, a course that usually took 2, and was commissioned as an artillery officer at age 16. The French Revolution erupted 3 years later, and in the chaos that followed, opportunity opened up like a crack in the earth. By age 24, he was a general. By 26, he was commanding France's Italian campaign and winning battle after battle against armies twice the size of his own, not by brute force, but by speed, surprise, and an almost supernatural ability to read terrain and outthink his enemies. His troops adored him. He ate with them, slept in the same conditions, knew their names. He was a general who led from the front. In 1799, through a political coup, Napoleon seized control of France. In 1804, he crowned himself emperor in Notre Dame Cathedral, famously taking the crown from the Pope's hands and placing it on his own head. No one was going to crown Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon crowned Napoleon Bonaparte. At his peak, he controlled or influenced nearly the entire European continent, France, Italy, Spain, the Netherlands, Poland, and large parts of Germany. His Grande Armée was the most formidable military force the world had ever seen. He won the Battle of Austerlitz against the combined armies of Russia and Austria with a tactical maneuver so brilliant it is still studied in military academies today. He fought over 60 battles and won more than 50 of them. Here's the thing about Napoleon that most people miss: he wasn't just a conqueror. He was a nation builder, a lawmaker, and a modernizer of almost everything he touched. The Napoleonic Code, the legal system he introduced in 1804, became the foundation of civil law in France and was exported across Europe, Latin America, and beyond. It guaranteed equality before the law, protected property rights, and established religious freedom. The legal systems of over 70 countries today trace their roots directly to the Napoleonic Code. He built roads, reformed education, created the Bank of France, reorganized the French university system, and established the metric system as the standard for measurement. He wasn't just conquering Europe, he was standardizing it, modernizing it, dragging it kicking and screaming into the 19th century. And then there was the Louisiana Purchase. In 1803, Napoleon sold the entire Louisiana Territory to the United States for $15 million, roughly 4 cents per acre, doubling the size of the young American nation overnight. Without Napoleon, the United States as we know it might not exist. But every empire has its crack. For Napoleon, it was Russia. In 1812, he marched 600,000 soldiers into Russia, the largest army ever assembled in European history. The Russians refused to fight him directly. Instead, they retreated, burned their own cities and crops, and let the Russian winter do the work. By the time Napoleon reached Moscow, the city was in flames. He waited for a peace offer that never came. Then came the retreat, one of the most catastrophic military disasters in history. Of the 600,000 men who crossed into Russia, fewer than 100,000 came back. His enemies smelled blood. In 1813, a coalition of European powers crushed his forces at the Battle of Leipzig, the largest battle in European history before World War I. Napoleon was exiled to the island of Elba. He escaped, returned to power for a staggering 100 days, and was finally and definitively defeated at the Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815. This time, his enemies weren't taking any chances. They sent him to St. Helena, a tiny, remote island in the South Atlantic, 1,200 miles from the nearest land. He spent his final 6 years there, dictating his memoirs, shaping his own legend, complaining about the damp, and slowly declining. Napoleon Bonaparte died on May 5, 1821, at age 51. The official cause was stomach cancer, though theories of arsenic poisoning have swirled for 2 centuries. He was buried on St. Helena, but not for long. In 1840, France brought his remains home to Paris with a state funeral of extraordinary magnificence. He now rests under the golden dome of Les Invalides in the heart of the city he made the capital of the world. Napoleon Bonaparte rose from a mocked foreign kid on a provincial island to the ruler of the most powerful empire in the world, and then fell just as dramatically, in a story so cinematic it almost doesn't feel real. He was a tyrant and a visionary, a warrior and a lawmaker, a genius and a man undone by his own hubris. But here's what's undeniable: nearly everything he built outlasted him. The laws, the roads, the institutions, the very shape of modern Europe, they all carry his fingerprints. 200 years later, the world is still living inside the order Napoleon created. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Who do you want to see next?